Let's talk about HEX. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people don't care about it. But is it something we should care about? Or is it one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in crypto? Let's take a look at it by discussing the utilities, the use cases, the team, the tokenomics, the community, and way more. And don't forget to subscribe and like, of course, if you like the content. Now let's start with the use cases. What does HEX do? Alright, let's move on to the tokenomics. This is one of the most controversial topics when it comes to HEX. If you look at the supply, they have a supply of 173 billion tokens. They have a total supply of 633 tokens, and they have a max supply which is unlimited. To know more about the tokenomics, we first have to know what HEX does exactly. If you go to the website, it says HEX mining averages 38% yearly returns. So the use case that HEX has is giving people a return of more tokens. And the understandable question that a lot of people have is, well, where is that money exactly coming from? To get the right answer, you have to ask the right question, of course. It's not where the money is coming from, it's where the tokens are coming from. But let's take a look at that. And to give you that answer, that's already quite hard, because it's very hard to find out what the right answer actually is. Everybody is saying different kind of things right here. For example, HEX is a complete product. There is no CEO or overhead. Where does the money come from? From the next person buying higher. I don't think if that's exactly the case though, because there is a clear founder and CEO of HEX. And if the money is coming from the next person buying higher, then it's a Ponzi. Is that the case? One admin says it's coming from people's pockets. Very unclear answer, of course. What does that mean? And the other admin says from bank printers. Also, can you be a little clear about how you are actually generating revenue? On this page on their website where they claim that HEX is better than Bitcoin, they explain a little bit about it. And as they put it, the inflation is capped at a maximum of 3.69 per year, which is paid to stakers for holding up the price. HEX stakers make a multiple higher profit in HEX from staking than the annual inflation rate. Currently a 38% APY on average versus an inflation rate of only 3.69%. To HEX stakers, the inflation is a benefit, not a cost. So in their own words, they pay their community by inflation. There are more tokens hitting the market. 3.69% yearly. And that 3.69% yearly is enough to cover 38% APY. If that's true, then how can they cover that with just 3.69%? Yeah, that's because of this. Currently, about 10% all HEX is staked. Okay, if you do that math, that's correct. But is that true? I mean, usually if you research a crypto project, you go to the website and you can see directly what it is. However, if you go to hex.com, the first thing you see is you get 38%. So instead of having a use case, they advertise with staking. So if that's their main utility, then how come only 10% is staked? It doesn't seem logical to me. That should be way higher. So either it's true, and indeed just 10% is staked, and they can pay the stakers like 38% with a 3.7% inflation rate. However, if that is the case, it means HEX will keep coming to the market. There will be more and more and more tokens. The problem with that is we do not have an unlimited amount of people to buy HEX. So eventually that will mean that if the demand doesn't go up, but the tokens hitting the market are going up, the price will come down, of course. That's not what you want as an investor. So what makes the price go up? Well, more people stepping into the project, offering more money for it than sellers are willing to receive for it. However, if that happens, also more people stake it. And if the inflation rate is capped at 3.69%, but more people are staking it, it means the APY gets lower. However, in this article from 1 year ago, the APY was already 38%, so the APY is not getting lower. There are more people, but the inflation is also capped. So how come they can still pay these people if it's not a Ponzi? It's still pretty likely that HEX uses the HEX tokens to pay people that were already staking these tokens. And that's Ponzi. So it's still possible that that's basically what's going on. All right, now, HEX versus Bitcoin. Like they show on their own website, HEX is way better than Bitcoin. Or even better, this is how Richard Hart puts it himself.
At 10,500, would you be a buyer of Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's garbage. I would never, ever, ever buy it, ever.
All right, Bitcoin is garbage. Cool. In my opinion, Bitcoin hitting the mainstream, institutions stepping in, and it's the only coin, of course, that has proven that it works. Also, Bitcoin is completely decentralized. Bitcoin doesn't offer an unsustainable 38% APY. And Bitcoin is an actual store of value since there is a limited amount of coins, unlike HEX. Plus, if you go to the Bitcoin website, you don't see one of the first things on the website if it's actually a scam. Why would you put it on your own website if it's a scam or not? If it's not a scam, then don't talk about scams. Now let's talk a little bit about the founder of HEX, Richard Hart. I think the way is the strength and the weakness of the project at once. He is super convincing. Of course, I have to give him that. You can't argue with him because he always has a counterpoint. That doesn't mean you are always right. But if you are convincing, you can make it look like you are always right. I will be a little concerned if I have to put my money into a project with a founder that has an enormous God complex.
Eventually, they'll cause enough jobs to get lost. I'm so smart. I'm so smart. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
I am so smart. I am so smart. By watching that, you can't actually invest in this project, right? At least I can't. And I'm not saying that people that invest in HEX are stupid or naive or whatever. I'm definitely not saying that. But Richard Hart is completely fooling his community. And that's what really kind of bothers me. For example, Richard posted this image on his Twitter not too long ago, where HEX is clearly outperforming a lot of crypto assets in 2023. And it looks great. And his community is hyped, undisputed. People can't wait for Pulse Chain. People are stoked about this. And that's very nice if you bought the bottom. But how easy is it to buy the bottom in crypto? It's a lot of luck right there, because it's not easy timing that. Look, HEX up 400% right here. Bitcoin 69, Avalanche 60, Polygon 50, Ethereum 50. HEX is completely outperforming these projects. What Richard doesn't tell you is that Bitcoin from the top to the complete bottom went down 4.5x. Avalanche from the top to the bottom 15x down. Polygon from the top to the bottom 10x down. Ethereum from the top to the bottom 5.5x down. HEX from the top to the bottom 30x down. The harder the fall, the bigger the bounce. So yeah, of course it looks like, wow, it's super strong. Look at us doing it 10x this year. But yeah, if it first comes down 30x and then you compare it to an asset that just went down 4.5x, is it actually as good as it looks then? So Richard is basically playing some tricks on you right here. And I hope you notice that. He's also doing that with these kind of posts. ChatGPT is down. HEX and HEX.com have never been down. But as far as I know, HEX is built on the Ethereum chain. So kudos to the Ethereum chain for never being down, but HEX has nothing to do with that. Also, ChatGPT has an actual utility and use cases, and HEX doesn't. So the only thing that can go down with HEX is their website host. So as long as they pay for their domain, they are okay. And that's not that hard, I think. But I don't want to be completely negative, because there are also positive things about this. The community is super strong. They call themselves Hexicans and they are an army. And that is something that Richard Hart has built. So that's a great job. Because if it wasn't Richard Hart behind this project would not be so big. He is convincing. He is talking about this project with passion, and he builds this community. There are thousands like these projects that do nothing but just pay you more tokens. That's not that special. So some conclusions from my side. Is HEX HEX a scam? I think it's a very bold statement to say that HEX is a scam, and I would not call it a scam. I must say though that if in 1, 2, 3 years it turns out to be a scam, I would not be surprised. Conclusion number 2. Is it a Ponzi? I think we all cannot deny that there are definitely some sketchy things involved, which makes us all wonder if these are just not basic Ponzinomics. If the main question about your project is that if it's a Ponzi or not, that you even have to put on your own website a headline with scam ? Then I think it's safe to say that there's actually a lack of transparency, clearness about the project, and a lot of uncertainty. And then the final conclusion, is it worth it to invest in HEX? And that totally depends on you. If you ask me, I will never invest in HEX. Simply because it's all very, very fishy. Also because the risk-reward ratio is definitely not worth it for me. If you look at CoinMarketCap, for example, we here have the top 200 list, and they all have a market cap with 170 million, 160 million, 125 million. But then you go to the next page, and there you'll see HEX with a market cap of $20 billion. How come? Because a lot of money inside the project belongs to investors that locked their tokens. So CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, for example, don't really want to associate with this, as they don't know if this is really a fair value that you're seeing right here. If it is the case though, and HEX is valued with $20 billion, it will put it right here, where XRP is right now, between rank 6 and rank 7 on CoinMarketCap. But we already have projects in the top 100 that do nothing and have a high market cap as well. We have Dogecoin, we have Shiba Inu, we have Cardano, and they are all ranked lower. Why should I invest in a project that doesn't have a solid use case, which is already so extremely high cap? There's a huge risk, and the reward, I don't really see it. And of course, one last conclusion, is HEX actually sustainable? Will it go on for another 3 years? In my opinion, not as it is right now. You cannot give more tokens, more tokens, more tokens and hold the price up and even make it go higher. Eventually, that's not sustainable, of course, because like I said, there is not an unlimited amount of people to buy HEX. That eventually runs out, of course. And they already have a big community, so how much more is there to gain? And I think that's exactly why Pulse Chain is around the corner. If Richard Hart is really that smart, he would understand as well that by giving out more and more and more tokens is not a sustainable way to run a crypto project. So he needs to add something to the HEX ecosystem that actually has a utility. So could HEX eventually go to $1 or beyond? Look, it's crypto. I'm not surprised with anything. Dogecoin showed us that everything is actually possible. So it actually could happen. Is it a possibility that it turns out to be one of the biggest crypto scams of all time? I would not be surprised as well. Or is it possible that eventually the hype cools off and then the project just slowly bleeds to death? That's also possible, because without a utility, you have to have it from the hype and from the community. And as long as they are able to maintain that, I think this project will do fine. But they have to keep on going with stuff. They have to do something. So I think Pulse Chain is a really smart move to not let the project die for now. It's my take on it. Let me know what you think. I see some people saying sometimes, yeah, but you do not understand HEX. Then explain it to me. I'm open to it. Leave your opinion below, smash the like button, turn on the bell notification after you subscribe to the channel. I'm here every single day.